Have you ever stood at the crossroads of life, trembling, staring down two roads you cannot see the end of, one full of promise, the other shrouded in mystery, and whispered through your tears, "God, are you really leading me?" Have you ever felt like a ship drifting on an endless ocean, crying out into the storm, wondering if heaven hears, if your compass still works, if your captain is still steering your soul? Some of you are there right now. You're desperate for direction. You're tired of confusion. You're worn down by false signs, shattered hopes, and the silence of unanswered prayers. You want to know, not guess, not assume, not wish. You want to know that God is directing your life. And let me tell you today, with every fiber of fire in my bones, He is. And I am going to show you how you can know it beyond a shadow of doubt. But be warned, child of God, this isn't for the faint-hearted. It's not for those who want easy answers and convenient signs. No, this is for the thirsty, the desperate, the broken, and the bold. For those who are ready to go deeper, to see past the fog, and to walk hand in hand with the invisible God through the valley of uncertainty into the mountain of purpose. Let me take you back to a story, one that lives in the pages of Genesis, but echoes in the hearts of every soul seeking direction. Abraham was called by God to leave his homeland, his comfort zone, his security, and all God told him was, "Go to a land I will show you." No map, no coordinates, no timeline, just a voice, just a promise, just a direction. Go. And he went. That's what faith looks like when God is directing your life. You don't always know where, but you always know who. You may not see the road, but you feel the hand. You may not understand the season, but you trust the voice. If you're waiting for God to drop a flashing neon sign from heaven saying, "This is the way," you might be waiting a long time. God doesn't always lead with signs. He leads with surrender. Psalm 32:8 says, "I will instruct you and teach you in the way you should go. I will guide you with my eye, not with lightning, not with earthquakes, not always with dreams, but with His eye." Do you know how close you have to be to someone to be guided by their eye? You can't be at a distance. You've got to be face to face. You've got to be intimate. You've got to be still enough, close enough, humble enough to look into His gaze. So many people miss the direction of God because they're chasing the spectacular and ignoring the still. They want the burning bush, but they ignore the burning in their hearts. They want the Red Sea to part, but they miss the whisper in the desert. But when God is truly directing your life, it is not always loud, but it is always clear to the surrendered soul. Proverbs 3:5-6 says, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge Him, and He shall direct your paths." Oh, how many of us are leaning on our own understanding and wondering why the path looks crooked? You're trying to understand it all before you obey. You're trying to see the whole picture before you take the first step. But faith doesn't work that way. God says, "Acknowledge me in all your ways." Not just your church ways, not just your spiritual ways, your career ways. Acknowledge Him when you're dating. Acknowledge Him when you're deciding. Acknowledge Him when you're discouraged. Acknowledge Him even when He seems silent. Because when you do, He will begin to direct your steps in ways you didn't even know He could. There's a supernatural GPS that activates in the heart of every submitted believer. It's called the Holy Spirit. And when He lives in you, He doesn't just comfort you, He guides you. Romans 8:14 declares, "For those who are led by the Spirit of God are the children of God." Are you led by your emotions, your logic, your fears, your friends? Or are you led by the Spirit? The Spirit of God leads in peace. Colossians 3:15 says, "Let the peace of Christ rule in your hearts." That word "rule" in the Greek means to act as an umpire. Let peace be your umpire. When peace leaves, something's wrong. When anxiety rules, something's off. When confusion dominates, take a step back. Because when God directs your life, He does it with peace that surpasses understanding. Not peace that makes sense, but peace that makes faith. Let me tell you something that may shake your theology. Sometimes, the clearest sign that God is directing your life is that everything around you is shaking. Yes, you heard me. Hebrews 12:27 says that God shakes what can be shaken, so that what cannot be shaken may remain. When God is directing your life, He often tears down your plans so He can rebuild His. He allows doors to slam so you won't walk through the wrong one. He allows people to leave so you'll stop leaning on them instead of Him. He allows breakdowns to position you for breakthroughs. Oh, don't you see? Don't you feel it? You didn't lose your job by accident. That relationship didn't fall apart just because that dream didn't die without purpose. God is not just watching you, He is working on you. He is not a passive observer, He is an active shepherd. Psalm 23 doesn't say He suggests paths. It says He leads me in paths of righteousness for His name's sake. That means your direction is not based on your name, your desires, or your feelings. It's based on His name's sake. When God directs your life, your story becomes a stage for His glory. Your pain becomes a pulpit. Your detour becomes divine. Just ask Joseph, thrown in a pit, sold into slavery, lied on in Potiphar's house, forgotten in prison. Yet in the end, he could look his brothers in the eye and say, "You meant it for evil, but God meant it for good." Genesis 20. That's divine direction. That's what it looks like when God is the one writing your story. He doesn't just reroute your life, He redeems it. But here's the hard truth. God's direction often feels like rejection before it feels like redirection. You ask Him for promotion, and He gives you pruning. You ask Him for marriage, and He gives you isolation. You ask Him for purpose, and He gives you process. Because God is more concerned with your becoming than your arriving. You may be walking through fire today and asking, "Where is God?" But the fire is the very proof that He's refining you. Isaiah 48:10 says, "Behold, I have refined you, but not as silver. I have tested you in the furnace of affliction." You are not being destroyed, you are being developed. You are not being forgotten, you are being forged. When God directs your life, He doesn't just lead you to green pastures. Sometimes He leads you through the valley of the shadow of death so that you will fear no evil and know He is with you. Listen to me. God's direction is not always about a place. Sometimes it's about a person. He will lead you into seasons that make no sense so you can discover who He really is. He will block your path to idols. He will disrupt your comfort to bring you into covenant. Because His goal is not to make your life easy, it's to make your soul holy. Some of you are asking for clarity, but God is asking for closeness. You want answers, He wants intimacy. And until you surrender fully, you will always question His direction. But the moment you let go, truly let go, and say, "Lord, not my will, but yours be done," a divine alignment begins to unfold in your life that no devil in hell can stop. God's direction is not always revealed in the moment. Sometimes it is only understood in hindsight. That's why we walk by faith, not by sight. That's why we cling to His Word, even when the way seems dark. Psalm 119:105 says, "Your word is a lamp to my feet and a light to my path," not a spotlight. A lamp, that means He shows you the next step, not the next 5 years. You obey today, and He reveals tomorrow. Look at Moses, standing at the Red Sea with Pharaoh behind him and water in front of him. Did he know what God was about to do? No. But he stood still and watched God move. And that's a word for somebody tonight. Stand still. Don't rush ahead. Don't panic. Don't manipulate. Just trust. The God who brought you to the edge is the God who can split the sea. When God is directing your life, there will be opposition. The enemy will attack, The storms will rage, the doubts will whisper, but you will have an inner confidence that cannot be shaken, a fire that cannot be quenched, a peace that defies logic, because you know that your steps are ordered. Psalm 37:23 says, "The steps of a good man are ordered by the Lord, and he delights in his way." So stop doubting, stop hesitating, stop second-guessing every closed door. Start trusting that God sees the end from the beginning, and he is not lost even when you feel like you are. The God who directed the ark across the flood, who directed Israel through the wilderness with cloud and fire, who directed Paul through shipwreck and prison, is the same God directing your life now. He is still speaking, he is still leading, but the question is, are you still listening? Are you close enough to catch the whisper? Are you surrendered enough to obey even when it doesn't make sense? Are you faithful enough to follow when the path is lonely, long, or hidden? Because when you truly yield, something glorious begins to happen. You begin to live not by luck, but by leading. You wake up with purpose. You walk with confidence. You wait with patience. You weep with hope, and you war with peace. Because you know deep in your spirit, no matter what it looks like, God is directing your life. And nothing, no devil, no delay, no detour can stop a soul that is led by the hand of the Almighty. So lift up your eyes, dry your tears, square your shoulders, and keep walking. The one who called you is faithful. He has not abandoned you. He has not misled you. You are not lost. You are not forgotten. You are being led step by step, day by day, from glory to glory, from faith to faith. And yet, beloved, even in the thickest fog of uncertainty, when the future is a dark hallway and every door looks locked, there is a still small voice whispering through the chaos. This is the way, walk in it. Isaiah 30:21. That is how our God speaks. He does not always shout through thunder, though he can. He does not always shake the earth beneath our feet, though he has. But often God directs us through quiet conviction, holy interruptions, and divine discomfort. And you must be spiritually alert enough to discern when the detour is not the devil's distraction, but God's divine direction. There are times in your life when God will disturb your comfort to deliver your calling. Don't mistake closed doors for punishment. They're often redirections from a loving Father who sees what you cannot. You prayed for clarity, but when the opportunity fell through, you cried out in confusion. Listen to me, child of God. The delay was the answer. The no was the guidance. The rejection was the redirection. Sometimes God protects you by denying what you thought was your destiny. He is not cruel. He is careful with your life, your soul, your future. He is too faithful to let you wander into destruction. The steps of a good man are ordered by the Lord. Psalm 37:23. And if your life is truly surrendered, then your every step, even the ones that hurt, are part of the path He has prepared. God does not play games with His children. He doesn't lead you to a cliff just to watch you fall. If you are standing at the edge, it's because He's about to teach you how to fly. He's about to open up something in your life that defies logic and breaks the limits of human understanding. That's what happens when God is in charge. That's what happens when you allow Him, not fear, not ambition, not pride, to direct your life. But hear me clearly, God's direction is not always about movement. Sometimes it is about stillness. Be still and know that I am God, Psalm 46:10. There is power in the pause. There is revelation in the waiting room. Some of you are running ahead of God, mistaking busyness for purpose. But the Lord says, sit with me. Let me show you the map before you try to take the wheel. Waiting on God is not wasting time. It is the process of aligning your spirit with His voice, your heart with His will. If you move without Him, you may reach a destination, but it won't be the one He ordained. And I say this to those who feel forgotten. God's direction is not always obvious to the naked eye. Sometimes you are being led by a thread of grace so fine it feels invisible, but oh, it is mighty. Just as the children of Israel followed the cloud by day and the fire by night, so too does the Lord guide you with signs that require spiritual vision. You cannot discern His hand if your eyes are on everyone else's journey. Get off social media and into the secret place. Stop comparing your life to someone else's highlight reel and ask God to give you heavenly eyes. His guidance is customized. His plan is personal. His timeline is perfect. Let me tell you something. When God is directing your life, you don't have to manipulate outcomes. You don't have to beg for favor or force open doors. What is meant for you will not pass you. When God commands a blessing, no demon in hell can reverse it. When God says move, you can walk into rooms without credentials and still be chosen. That's the favor of divine direction. The world may not understand it, but heaven has already approved it. And when God opens a door, it stays open, not because you knocked long enough, but because He unlocked it with a key made of grace and glory. You want to know if God is directing your life? Ask yourself this: am I walking in peace or am I striving in fear? The peace of God is not the absence of problems, it's the presence of divine assurance. Let the peace of God rule in your hearts. Colossians 3:15. That word rule means to umpire, to call the shots. If peace says it's out, then it's out. If peace says stay, then stay. Peace is the compass of the Spirit. If you have to sacrifice your peace to keep a job, a relationship, or a position, then it was never God's will to begin with. God's direction will always carry the fragrance of His peace, even in the storm. Now listen, saints, because this next truth might shake your soul. Sometimes God directs you into difficulty, not away from it. Yes, He does. He led Jesus into the wilderness. He sent Joseph into prison. He permitted Job to be tested. Why? Because direction is not always about ease, it is about destiny. You are not called to a life of constant comfort. You are called to carry a cross. And the cross is not a decoration. It declares, I trust God's way even when it hurts. I follow His voice even when it's lonely. I obey even when I don't understand. That is faith. That is surrender. That is direction. Let us be honest. Many people want the results of God's plan without the restraint of His guidance. They want elevation without submission. They want blessings without boundaries. But hear me, God will not bless what He didn't birth. If you are walking on a path that God never authorized, you may gain the world and lose your soul. There is a way that seems right to a man, but its end is destruction. Proverbs 14:12. Just because it feels good doesn't mean it's God. Just because it looks right doesn't mean it's righteous. You must be spiritually mature enough to say no to what glitters and yes to what is godly. There is a holy boldness that comes from walking in divine direction. You stop asking for permission from people who were never assigned to your calling. You stop explaining your journey to those who can't see your destiny. You stop shrinking to fit spaces God never told you to enter. When God directs your life, He gives you divine confidence, not arrogance, but assurance. You know whom you belong to. You know who holds your future. And you know that every step you take is part of a sacred choreography, divinely ordered from the throne of grace. And hear me, When God directs you, He doesn't just lead you to a place, He prepares you for the place. That's why some of you are in a season of breaking, pruning, stretching. God is not punishing you, He is preparing you. The crushing of the olive produces the oil. The pressing of the grape brings the wine. Don't resent the process. It is sacred. Every tear, every trial, every quiet night of surrender is molding you into the vessel that can carry His glory. You must be shaped before you can be sent. You must be refined before you can be revealed. Don't despise the season of silence. Don't despise the days when heaven seems quiet. God is still speaking. He's just speaking in a language that requires spiritual ears. He may be directing you through dreams, through scripture, through divine encounters, through godly counsel, through closed doors, through inner stirring, but He is speaking. The shepherd never stops leading. Sometimes the sheep just need to slow down and listen. When God is directing your life, you will find yourself in places you never imagined, doing things you never planned, with a strength you never knew you had. Because it is no longer you who lives, but Christ who lives in you, Galatians 2:20. And when Christ is your life, then the path you walk is not just yours, it is holy ground. Every step becomes sacred. Every moment becomes ministry. Every decision becomes destiny. So I ask you today, who is holding the pen of your story? Have you surrendered your plans, or are you still wrestling for control? The Lord is calling you to let go, to lay down the map you drew and pick up the one soaked in His blood, engraved with His love. To say, not my will, but yours be done. That's where direction becomes destiny. That's where chaos becomes clarity. That's where wandering ends. And yet, my friend, there are still some listening to this word who feel suspended between two worlds. Your feet are walking forward, but your soul is still asking, Lord, is this really you? You wake up in the morning with a burden that doesn't come from worry, but from a deep, holy unease. It's the ache of transition. It's the holy tension of divine movement. That is not confusion, it's confirmation. Because when God begins to truly direct your life, He will pull you out of everything that is familiar and call you into the unknown. He did not give Abraham the full plan. He gave him a simple command. Go to the land I will show you. Genesis 12:1. Not the land I have shown you, not the land with the brochure and 5-year blueprint. The land I will show you. Direction from God requires trust without total clarity. Oh, how we crave details, but the God of heaven is not a God of step-by-step predictability. He is the God of faith. And faith is not knowing the path, it's trusting the guide. It's standing in the middle of a sea with walls of water on either side and believing they won't crash down until you've reached the other side. It's circling Jericho 7 times, even though nothing moves for 6. It's gathering jars like the widow did when all you have left is a little oil. Divine direction will stretch you beyond human logic and lead you into realms where miracles are the only explanation. And there will be seasons, oh yes, there will be seasons, where God's direction contradicts human wisdom. He will tell you to stay when everyone else says go. He will whisper leave when your flesh cries stay. He will instruct you to build an ark when there isn't a drop of rain in the forecast. And if you're waiting for popular opinion to confirm what God said in the secret place, you will miss the move. You will miss the miracle, because divine direction isn't voted on by the crowd. It is revealed in covenant. God does not call committee meetings to authorize His will for your life. He speaks, and it is so. I must warn you with love, if you truly let God direct your life, you will be misunderstood. You will be misjudged. People will call you radical, extreme, unstable. Because what is obedience to God often looks like rebellion to the world. Noah looked like a fool until the flood came. Joseph looked like a dreamer until he became a ruler. Mary looked scandalous until she birthed the Savior of the world. Do not let the fear of being misunderstood become the muzzle of your mission. If God said it, walk in it. If God led you, stay in it. The cost of obedience may be high, but the cost of disobedience is higher. There is a fire that burns in the heart of a soul led by the Spirit, a fire not kindled by ambition, but by an encounter, a fire not sustained by applause, but by intimacy. And when God is truly directing your life, that fire becomes your compass. You can't ignore it. You can't suppress it. You wake up burning with purpose. You go to sleep burning with passion. Your soul becomes a living altar. And everywhere you walk, heaven walks with you. You begin to sense what others cannot see. You discern atmospheres. You feel burden for things that others call ordinary. Because divine direction awakens divine sensitivity. And when the Lord directs your path, you begin to live from eternity, not urgency. You stop chasing success and you start walking in significance. You realize that it's not about how quickly you arrive, it's about how deeply you obey. Moses spent 40 years in the wilderness not because he failed, but because God was preparing him to lead a nation. Jesus spent 30 years in quiet before 3 years of ministry changed the world. Don't despise slow seasons. Don't rush what God is writing. What He is forming in the dark will shine in the light, and what takes time to build will last when the storms come. Sometimes the greatest sign that God is directing your life is not found in what changes around you, but in what transforms within you. Your desires shift. Your appetites change. You no longer hunger for the applause of man. You crave the presence of the King. You're no longer satisfied by shallow distractions. You long for the deep things of God. You don't just want to do for Him, you want to be with Him. And that, my friend, is the greatest direction of all. Not just to a place, not just to a calling, but to a deeper walk with Jesus. There is a place in God where you stop asking Him to follow you and you begin to follow Him, step by step, breath by breath. You wake up each morning not with a list of demands, but with a heart of surrender. Lord, what would you have me do today? And it may not always be grand. Sometimes God's direction will lead you into hidden places, to serve in silence, to pray behind the scenes, to love the unlovable, to forgive the one who broke you, to stay when it's hard and go when it's uncomfortable. But in those hidden obediences, eternity is being shaped. You are never more in the will of God than when your heart is postured in surrender, your spirit tuned to His voice. Let me speak to the one who feels paralyzed by fear, afraid to make the wrong move. You're waiting for a booming voice, a burning bush, a thunderclap of confirmation. But child of God, sometimes the direction you're looking for is already in the last word God gave you. Go back to it. Revisit the moment He whispered a calling in your heart. Reignite the fire He placed in your spirit. Don't let fear mute what faith ignited. God is not the author of confusion. 1 Corinthians 14:33. He is not dangling your purpose like a cruel mystery. He is guiding. He is leading. Even in your hesitation, He is patient. Even in your weakness, He is strong. And if you truly want to know if God is directing your life, look at the fruit. Not the hype, not the numbers, the fruit. Are you walking in love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-betrayal? These are the road signs of the Spirit. These are the indicators of divine direction. If your walk is producing the character of Christ, then you are on the path of light. And even when it's hard, even when the way is narrow, there will be a holy contentment in your soul, because you are not walking alone. Heaven is walking with you. So press on. Don't let the silence scare you. Don't let the pain distract you. Don't let the opinions of men detour you. If God is directing your life, then every detour is divine, Every delay is protection, every trial is training, and every battle is building you for the blessing. You are not lost, you are being led. You are not forgotten, you are being formed. You are not abandoned, you are being anointed. Lift your eyes to the hills. Your help comes from the Lord, the maker of heaven and earth. He will not let your foot slip. He who watches over you will neither slumber nor sleep. Psalm 121, 1-3. His hand is upon you, His Spirit is within you. His plan is unfolding even now. Trust Him, follow Him, yield to Him, and He will make your path straight. Oh, beloved, there is a sacred urgency to understand this truth, that God is not distant or disconnected from your daily steps. The Almighty King of the universe does not merely watch from afar as life's storms toss you about. No, He is intimately involved, deeply invested in your journey, meticulously weaving every thread of your story into a tapestry of divine purpose. To know God is directing your life is to grasp that you are not an accident, not a random collection of events, but a carefully designed masterpiece fashioned by His hands before the foundations of the world. Ephesians 2:10. Every breath you take is under His sovereign orchestration. Consider Joseph, a man betrayed, falsely accused, and forgotten in a prison cell. Yet the Lord was with him. Even when the world seemed to abandon him, God's direction was perfect and purposeful. Joseph did not lose sight of the vision God gave him years before. He knew deep within that every twist and turn, the pit, the prison, was a step toward the throne. When he finally stood before Pharaoh, he declared, "It was not you who sent me here, but God." Genesis 45:8. God's direction often includes dark valleys and waiting rooms, but these are not places of abandonment. They are classrooms of preparation. When God leads, no suffering is wasted. No tear falls unnoticed. No setback is final. The God who directs your path is the God who redeems every broken piece and sets it to work for your breakthrough. But listen carefully, for divine direction demands a heart of radical obedience. It is easy to say, "Lord, direct my steps," but far harder to walk them when they lead through fire and shadow. When God directs, He will call you to step out of your comfort zone and into the arena of faith where giants dwell. You will be called to release control, your plans, your timelines, your preferences, and say, "Not my will, but yours be done." Luke 22:42. This surrender is not weakness, it is strength forged in humility. God's ways are higher than your ways, and His thoughts beyond your understanding. Isaiah 55:8-9. To be led by God is to accept the mystery of divine wisdom over human logic, to embrace the unseen with unwavering trust. And do not be deceived. When God directs, He will surround you with His word. His promises will become your anchor in the storm. Scripture will no longer be distant words in a book, but living, breathing life breathed directly into your spirit. The psalmist declared, "Your word is a lamp to my feet and a light to my path." This illumination is not optional, it is essential. You want to know God's direction? Saturate your soul in His truth. Let His word penetrate your doubts, heal your wounds, and ignite your courage. When the enemy whispers lies, the sword of the Spirit will cut through the darkness, guiding your feet away from destruction and onto the path of life. Furthermore, discernment is a gift of the Spirit, given to those who hunger and seek. It is the ability to distinguish God's voice from every other sound that clamors for your attention. The world is filled with distractions, selfish ambition, deceptive counsel, fleeting trends, but the Spirit's direction is clear, firm, and peaceful. When God leads, His voice brings a deep, unshakable peace that surpasses all understanding. Philippians 4:7. This peace is not mere absence of conflict, but the presence of divine assurance, even in the midst of chaos. When your heart wrestles between choices, wait for that peace. When your mind races with fear, pray for that peace. It is the unmistakable signature of God's leading. Oh, how many have missed God's direction by rushing ahead in impatience or retreating in fear. But those who wait on the Lord will renew their strength. They will soar on wings like eagles. Isaiah 40:31. Waiting is not idleness, it is active surrender. It is the deliberate positioning of your soul beneath the mighty hand